In this tutorial, we'll be covering the most effective ways to get your music out and available to your listeners on major and specialized online stores and platforms from the comfort of your own home. Also in the video, Scratcher DVA and Kush Jones drop some tips on the benefits of self-releasing. Welcome to today's tutorial. I'm Akito, a London-based DJ and producer. And in this video, we'll be covering some DIY ways to release your next project with advice along the way, from preparing your audio files, artwork, and getting your release sounding as great as possible. We also have two very special contributors in today's video. I had the pleasure of chatting to Scratcher DVA and Kush Jones, two prominent self-releasing artists in the club music scene. So make sure to stick about until the end and catch all those gems. First and foremost, the music is the most important element to this. Not only have the bangers, but high quality, uncompressed files and making sure they sound as good as audibly possible. The last thing you want to do is pull down releases for quality issues by cutting corners or skimping. I always say be willing to invest financially as you did with your time in creating these releases. This is if you can, of course. The investment will usually pay off in the long run. Now for the mixdowns. Once the production of your track is finalized, we reach the mixdown stage. The aim is usually to get your track sounding as balanced and polished as possible. This is an artistic choice, of course, and is by no means to be abided by. If mixing down isn't your cup of tea or you don't have the experience, you can always outsource this part of the process if you have the resources, as it usually requires more time than your regular single file 2-channel stereo master. Most mastering houses also offer stem mastering as a service, a process in which you can bounce out the main parts of your composition. Then the engineer will process these individual stems and then the final master for you. You can always outsource the mix down stage to experienced engineers or friends too. Three names that stand out in the club music scene for me for their quality output in churning out great mixes are Bok Bok from Night Slugs, Woolwork from Nervous Horizon, and Snow from More Time Records. So if working with one of them to get your record sounding amazing floats your boat, you should definitely hit them up and check out their availability and rates. Also, if any other engineers spring to mind, please feel free to share them in the comments. And next is mastering, the final stage of the chain in getting the music of your release completed and sounding as good as it possibly can. This process I'd highly suggest outsourcing if it's possible. It's always good to have a fresh set of ears with experience handling the final hurdle. The last thing you want is your music sounding like it was imported into a submarine, mastered through a cigarette box and exported out of a potato. Your record simply will not translate well. From the smallest speakers to festival stages, I highly suggest investing if you can, as experience is key in mastering. So it's better to get someone with years behind them than someone who's torrented the Waves bundle onto their parents' laptop. This will cost more, of course, so if money is an issue and you don't feel that confident, there are a few cheaper options. It's also worth having a listen to examples of previous masters of your chosen mastering engineer. See what sound they lean towards and if it will suit your music and style. Here's a short list I've put together of some potential options. I'll include links in the description for you too, so feel free to research and see what works for you and your budget. Next is preparing your files for mastering. If you're not going to do the mastering yourself or go for the stem mastering option, most mastering houses will ask for the files to match these requirements and specifications. An uncompressed stereo audio file. There's no MP3s around here, my G. This should be at least 16-bit 44.1 kHz minimum, but preferably 24-bit 48 kHz and above. This allows for more audio information in your files. Once processed through the mastering chain, they are usually exported and or dithered down to 6 or 24-bit masters. There should be absolutely no processing on the master output of your exported files, so delete or bypass any effects on your master channel before exporting your mixdown. Also, you're going to want to leave at least 6 decibels of headroom on the master channel when you're exporting your mixdown. Also, avoid any volume fades on the intro or outro. These can be done at the mastering stage by the engineer. This is so your music doesn't have to fight with the compressor or limiter trying to bring back up the volume of the fading audio. Next, we have the all-important artwork. Most distributors will ask for the artwork in a perfect square, at least 3000 by 3000 pixels in height and width, in either JPEG or PNG format. So keep this in consideration when designing your artwork or getting it outsourced, as the last thing you want to do is enlarge a smaller image to fit the specification, as this will compromise and decrease the quality of the final image. Next is distribution. For most self-releasing artists, Bandcamp is the most beloved and secure platform for sharing their creations. Bandcamp is great as the artists take the majority of the money from the sales. The funds are then processed and released within 24 to 48 hours. The only quicker way I know of receiving money from music sales would be to sell directly through your own website. This process will take longer to set up and probably won't be as secure. So Bandcamp is usually the preferred, most convenient and renowned platform for self-releasing music artists. Next is distributors. To get your music onto the world's largest streaming platforms and specialized sites, you will have to sign up to some form of music distributor. All you will have to do is upload your release once with them, and they will make sure they will reach your desired selected platforms and stores. You can get more general music distributors like DistroKid. For a yearly one-off fee, you have the opportunity to upload unlimited audio files to the world's largest online music platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and loads more. You also get to keep 100% of your profits. This is one of the fastest options for distribution too. I've left a link in the description for you to check out this option further. Next, you have more specialized distributors. The example I use in this video, just out of my own experience, is Labelworks. Once you sign up with them and sign the contract, you will be able to log into their website and schedule forthcoming releases through them. There is no sign-up fee, but they will take a small cut of your profits. The benefit of Labelworks over DistroKid is that your music can appear in more specialized sites. For example, Boomkat, Beatport, Juno Download, Bleep, and loads more, as well as the huge platforms mentioned in the previous example. I've also left a link to Labelworks in the description for you. Next up is promotion. Once you have all your lovely assets together, you may want to plan and execute a winning PR campaign to promote and market your next release. I've also covered this topic in a previous video, so I'll link it in the card for you and the end screen. I believe it's better to announce the release once you have everything in your hands. The last thing you want to really do is start pushing back release dates because you're unhappy with the masters or not fully sold on the artwork. So I highly suggest getting everything together first, and once you're completely happy, then creating a release date with your DJ promo mail out and PR campaign lead time put into consideration so the whole process can run as smoothly as possible for you. And now it's time for some advice from today's special guests. First up, we have Kush Jones, one of the most hardworking DJs and producers out of New York I know. A key figure in the US and international club music scene. I've left a link to his Bandcamp in the description for you, so feel free to give his tracks a listen, purchase and support his music directly after the video. What are the main benefits of self-releasing rather than going through a label? When self-releasing, I just feel like I have a bit more control with timing and creative direction of releases. There's also more profit that comes back to the artist when self-releasing. Labels can be good, as long as both sides honour agreements and put together a great piece of work. Also, depending on the label, they can help you market and push your brand and identity to their market if they have established one. Bandcamp. I also have my music on streaming platforms, but they pay shit. Bandcamp offers useful tools to help you keep track of sales and is organised. Definitely with mixes and radio. I like to weave in my new stuff from the Strictly For My CDJs catalogue, as well as releases with other labels into my mixes. I also send records to my friends that DJ a ton or have mixes dropping as well. Recently, I decided to commission Jay Drago from Duke Bounce work on the artwork duties for Strictly For My CDJ series. He is super talented and provided each release with a new piece of original work. Lastly, I just talk about what I have going on music-wise. I recently put more effort into mixing and mastering my own projects. With my self-released work, I mix and master on my own because I DJ enough to where I know how I want my music to sound, and I know how to achieve that sound. I will say it doesn't hurt to take a shot at it yourself, but also don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. I didn't go to school for audio engineering or anything like that. I just know how I want my work to sound. If people like it, then that's a bonus, to be honest. Many of the labels that you look to release on or feel aren't accessible to you started with self-releases or someone saying, I'm going to take initiative to start my own thing. If you decide to start your own thing, take it serious. Be open to suggestions and critique. Take what you need and leave the rest. And pay attention to what others are doing to be successful. Take information and apply it to your situation and practice. Next, we have Scratcha DVA, hyperdub mainstay and pioneer of the quirkiest dance floor cuts I've heard to date. I've left a link towards his Bandcamp in the description for you to check out his music too. Make sure you cut. The main benefit is not having to wait or have anyone to answer to. When you have an idea, you can get straight into it. I distribute all my self-release stuff digitally, except for a few one-away limited run vinyl, now and again when it's something special. Marketing works differently for everyone, but for me and my new label, I just keep it simple. I service all the DJs myself with personal emails, no group emails ever. I stopped sending my music to magazines in advance for reviews, just because I wanted my new label Drum Track to be completely organic, to see how people react to the music and not to the journo's rating. I mix and master my own label stuff. I even mixed and mastered the Touch EP by KG and myself, which came out on Hyperdub. I've been happy with the outcome of my stuff and no one's complained yet. Having said that, I'm always asking people around me for advice like Sinbad, Sinjin, Zora and other ears I trust. Just having faith in your music. A lot of people feel that if a label picks up their sound, then it makes it valid to be given to the public. That's also a good way to work. But I feel a lot of people's music goes unnoticed because they don't have the guts to put it out because they feel it will get air. But it doesn't matter because in 15 years, when that one track you did on a random label or compilation gets used by Steven Spielberg, and some guy you don't even talk to anymore is taking 50% of that check just because you were friends 5 years ago at some after party and let them release that track, then you'll be pissed. Obviously, there are great ways of working with labels, like for myself. I've been lucky, but not everyone gets to work with such a friendly label. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. As always, if you feel I have left anything important out of this video or have any suggestions, please bang them in the comment. Massive thank you to Scratch and Kush for their contributions to today's video. Please check out their Bandcamps and support these artists directly. Until tomorrow, stay safe. As my dad would say, follow your highest energy. Goodbye for now. Love.